Well, good afternoon and happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome back for a great guest we have today. I'm very excited. She is just an incredibly accomplished woman and has written a fantastic book. She's a little under the weather today, but she is being a trooper and appearing anyway. So you may want to turn your volume up a little bit so you can hear all the words of wisdom she's going to share with us. So first and foremost, I would like to welcome our very special guest, Dr. Maureen McIntosh Alberts. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
And just to tell everybody who's listening today a little bit about her background, she is a behavioral scientist. She's also a certified leadership coach. She's also the executive director for the John Maxwell team. I know we have a lot of John Maxwell fans out there. She's also a licensed minister. I'm telling you, this woman does everything, and the author of this fabulous book here, live your life from, I can say, live your life from the inside out. It's a great book, which I highly recommend. So we are going to see how much her voice will last with us today. So thank you for being here. And I would love to take a minute and just ask a couple questions about your book, if that's okay.
Sure, absolutely. It's my pleasure to be here with you guys, Leanne. And thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here despite being a little hoarse. You're just amazing. I appreciate it. So with all of the many things you do, I did want to take a minute and talk about this book. There are so many great lessons in this book about living your very, very best life. But I think no matter where people are, there's some distinctions that will apply to everybody. And you talk about, facing challenges, how you handle them, having faith and fear and all kinds of distinctions. But I want to start with the very first one. Can you help with defining how you see the difference between challenges in life and adversity in life? That's a really great base with where to start when people are facing some tough times.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be able to share with you what I have experienced in life. And my book actually is about my unique experiences. And I've made some distinctions in the book about the differences between a challenge and an adversity. And that's what you're asking me to do, to give a distinction.
Yes, please.
So what I experience as a challenge is something that you are faced with in life that you can overcome based on the perspective that you have of the challenge. Similarly, an adversity is something that you can deal with, right, based on your perspective. So everything in life, whether it be a challenge or an adversity, you can deal with each one based on the perspective. That's number one. If you see a challenge would be something that you are given and you can accept it or you can reject it. Mm-hmm. An adversity, on the other hand, you have no choice but to accept it. An adversity would be, and a challenge would be something like you're on the job, you're up for promotion, but you're asked to go through several steps, several processes before you get to that managing director, CEO position. So if you decide that you want that position, you can accept the challenge and you can fulfill the requirements to get to that position. That's a very simplistic and which I think everyone can understand, because most of us have been in situations in a job where we wanted to get a promotion and we had to go through several steps in order to be able to get there. Some people will say, I know, they're just putting me through these steps and giving me all of these restrictions because of whatever we consider to be the reason why we have to go through that. So you can say yes or no thanks. You can be asked to challenged to go to do a marathon.
Mhm.
You can accept it, or you can say, no, I can't do it. But when you have an adversity would be something like a death in the family. What can you do about an adversity? A death in the family. There's nothing that you can do about it. You just have to accept it. It's adversarial. Someone is not doing it to you. Life brings adversities and life brings challenges. But one of them you can accept, and the other one, you have no choice but to accept it. One of them you can reject, the other one, you have no choice but to accept it. That's how I see, it's a very small distinction, but if you can't do anything about a child, for example, that is born autistic.
Mhm.
You would see it as an adversity. The important thing to remember is that whether it is a challenge or an adversity, is the way you think about it, the emotion that is attached to that, because every thought is emotionalized. It's either anger, or it is joy, or it is frustration. Or you can see a challenge or an adversity, each of them, as something sent in life to make you stronger so that you can leverage it in order to become the best version of yourself. Or you can be bitter about it, each of them, both the challenge and the adversity. The response would be, or the reaction would be a choice to either the challenge or the adversity. But the distinction is one you can accept, and one you have no choice but to accept it.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Mhm.
And you do talk about, there's several stories about people losing, family members and going through, death and the challenge they've had, even some of your own stories as well.
Yes.
But when you do that, then you made another distinction, which is powerful. Now you have a challenge or an adversity. And then the question is whether you are responding or reacting. And that is an incredibly powerful conversation. Can you, again, if you don't mind, trying to save your voice there, but can you talk about the difference of those two ways of interacting when something comes in your life?
Okay, let me point you to the back of the book, the last chapter of the book, where I talk about Dr. Martin Luther King, and about I also talk about what's the name of the guy who wrote about life, meaning to life, Viktor Frankl.
Mhm.
Now, in terms of whether we respond or we react, a reaction is when you react, you don't think. It's almost like fight or flight.
Yes.
And that is like the way in which we were taught, or the way in which instinctively, to save ourselves because of fear. We want to save ourselves, and fear is a gift. Fear is a gift, but when we react, we always, most of the time, reacting because we want to preserve ourselves. And if we see danger, if we see challenge as a danger, we'll run. That's, as soon as you see it, without thinking about the outcome that you want, the first thing to do is to run away from it.
Yes.
But that's to react. We call it a knee-jerk reaction. But a reaction, a response is to think about, okay, what kind of outcome? Because you start asking yourself, you're not running, you're thinking. You're bringing a level of maturity and thinking. I say that the level of consciousness and the level of awareness that we bring to any adversity or challenge is what we're going to get out of it. As we think, we act.
Yes.
Or we respond. So if I know that I want, take the example of the person who is given the challenge of going through some requirements to get to the CEO. The reaction would be, now, I'm not going to This is not what I want. I thought I was going to get it, but so you decide, no, I'm not going to engage. But the person who responds start thinking about, what is it? What's my best outcome? Start asking, coaching yourself, what do I want out of this? What's the outcome? You start with the end in mind. You begin with the end in mind. And then you start thinking, if I accept this challenge, or if I respond to this adversity, that I can see what I would learn out of it, or what I would get out of it. That's the responses. So you're responding to a set of questions that you're asking yourself regarding the outcome that you want. And when you do that, then you're going to embrace the challenge, or embrace, that's your first level of embracing that outcome of the challenge or the adversity. When you embrace, you start saying, this is going to either make me bitter or better. And I prefer to be better than to be bitter.
Yes.
So there's a question of outcome. React is not a thing, just flight. Respond is to start thinking, what's the best outcome, and what's the process, what's the learning, what's the opportunity in this?
And that's the key word right there. You talk a lot about, the opportunity. I love that one story you tell about the gentleman who keeps reacting, maybe not. So something can happen to someone and they can just, as you called it, have a knee-jerk reaction, or they can choose to respond, to stop, to breathe, to pray, to really figure out, how can I become better? What can I learn from this?
Exactly.
Etc. And that really brings up another distinction that you talk about, which is living out of faith or living out of fear, and responding out of faith or reacting out of fear. And I'm not going to ask much more because I know you're holding on there with that throat. Can you just talk for a few seconds about that? Because the consequences, the life, everything that comes out of it is so distinct when you choose faith or fear.
Yes. So there are the two most powerful emotions, I think. There are three. The most powerful emotions in the world is love, faith, and fear. I have hope and all of those others, but I say love, faith, and fear. Now, putting aside love, right? Let's talk about faith and fear.
Yes.
Both of them are futuristic states. You fear the unknown, so it's not right now.
Mm-hmm.
What if in the future? What if something bad were to happen? That's a fear response. But what if something good were to happen? That's a faith response. You see, and this is not about religion. This is about looking at life from two different sides of the coin. There are people who have a mindset that whatever happens to me, it is because the world is doing it to me. Somebody is responsible for my life. The faith response takes the opposite, saying, I am a key actor in my life. And if I respond and I take the appropriate action, I am going to get a good outcome. That's the faith response. They're both futuristic, but one thinks pessimistic. Everything is bad. The external environment is doing it to me. My mother, the government, the politician, the pastor, everybody else is doing it. I have no internal locus of control is another word that we use in psychology. Your ability to act on your own behalf, the self-control that you have to control. You can't control everything, but there are things that are within your control. That is going on the inside and digging deep within, because we all have a power within us that is so powerful. It's wisdom. Some people call that wisdom intuition. Some people call it sixth sense, but it's a voice that speaks on the inside not the voice of the environment, but quieting down yourself enough to say, what can I do in order to be able to, I'm sorry, what can I do in order? What can I do in order to be able to make this the best outcome? That's a faith response, that I have the ability, that as soon as I know what I want and I am going for what I want, some people would say the universe will act on my behalf and start sending all the resources, meaning people, situations, finances, resilience, everything that we need. But as soon as we start acting in fear, the same thing happens. Everything that we're looking for, that we're afraid of, it will happen. When you act in faith, everything that you're looking for is going to happen. They're both the same, but one of them brings you results that you don't want, and one of them brings you results you want. So why not think about the results you want, focus on it and go after it, versus saying, what if? What if it's something bad will happen? But what if something good happens?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I just want to thank you, and your voice held up. I'm very excited. And for all of you who are tuning in, a few quick things. If you want to leave any questions or comments, since we're not going to take any live today, since she's a little bit rough there. If you're on the Facebook page, you can leave some there and we'll be able to check back in with that. If you end up watching this on YouTube, feel free to leave some comments there and make sure that you give it a thumbs up and subscribe. That always helps for us to share her information. Again, here is the book, and it is available on Amazon, correct?
Yes, it is. Yes.
So Live Your Life from the Inside Out. It is a fantastic book. I actually whipped through it really quickly and loved it, took a whole bunch of notes, and it's a guide for anyone to live. And you can really see that she has the skills of being a coach, the skills of being a leader, the skills of being a minister, all of that is wrapped into the way she looks at life. So please, if you are intrigued, grab that book. It's a fabulous read. And thank you so much again for sharing your lessons in here and sharing what's left of your voice with us today. You're really a champion. We appreciate you so much.
I do appreciate you too, Leanne. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. And we will be back here live next week, everyone. Hope you have an outstanding week, and we will put the link to her book down below. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.